All right, gang, we're gonna talk about Reverb.com, all right? I don't know if you can see that, but I previously did a video about selling on Reverb. I am pretty good at it. I've got over 1,300, maybe 1,335 sales on Reverb of stuff I've sold over the last 6 years, I think it is. So please allow me to give you some tips. All right. Tip number one, and this is expanding on my last video because I've seen some things and I think I can offer some advice to help you. And it also will help you when you're buying too, not just selling. All right, first tip, clean your pedals thoroughly before you take pictures of them. I know this sounds like duh, but you wouldn't believe the amount of pedals I see up there when I'm shopping for myself that are just like disgustingly dirty and dusty and grungy. Come on, clean them up. And the trick is I've wiped some down and I've even taken some computer spray and done that too. Sometimes that's not enough. You go to take a picture, you don't really see it. You look at it later and go, oh man, because it's still, so just, take your time. Maybe the best thing to do is like I have eyeglass cleaner that has no alcohol. It's like all natural, blah, 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 no offensive chemical things in it. I think it's called Koala. Anyway, there's other brands. And put that on like a microfiber because the microfibers tend to spread it. Like they'll pick it up a lot, but they'll spread it. So spray that on there, wipe them down real quick, and then give it an extra blow with the computer duster. It's the best you can do. Take the pictures and see. When you get to edit the pictures, which brings me to my next thing. When you take the pictures, import them into your computer. My computer has some standard, picture program. It's not fancy, but it allows me to crop them. And the reason you want to crop them is to take a good photo. Sometimes you're going to have quite a bit on the left and right. But if you notice when you're scrolling on your phone on Reverb or even on the web, they'll display pictures, right? When you search for something, half of that picture will be cut off. So you want to crop them as tightly as you can to the pedal and straighten and center the pedal. I've been guilty of the straighten thing because for some reason my phone always takes crooked things, or maybe I'm just crooked, but I've gotten used to going in, cropping them really tight, straightening them out. And if there's like a light issue, sometimes you don't want to misrepresent them because people will get pissy, and we'll get to that point down the road. But, you can like make the clarity a little better and enhance the lighting and whatever, just so it doesn't change the look of what you're trying to sell because people will get on you. And as far as light goes, if you notice, if you go to my Reverb page, it's like Ed's Gear Shed with a picture of the barn where we keep the goats and the sheep in Norway. Like, I'm not kidding. That's the barn that our sheep are in on the Pedersen farm. That's Ed's Gear Shed. So anyway, if you go to my page, you'll see that I often take the pictures, on my steps right outside my studio. Why is that? Well, light. You want really good light. Artificial light, I've got lights that I sometimes use in the studio and everything when I'm shooting demos and whatever, not when I'm doing this. The problem with that light is the artificial light kind of can glare sometimes off your pedals and not really give an accurate depiction of what they are. And it can be good and bad, but most of the time I think it's bad. So you gotta wait for sunny days. I have to wait for sunny days anyway, because I shoot them all on the steps that lead upstairs outside my studio here. Why? Because I have a 30-foot ceiling in the living room, and that means double windows, and the sun comes right in. It's the best light for shooting stuff. I mean, it's amazing. So that's what I do. Make sure your light is good. Make sure you edit your pictures afterwards. Now, make sure you're brutally honest. In fact, I would err on the side of being conservative about the condition of your pedal. Like, mint means you took it out of the box, you played it a couple times, and you put it back in the box. And there's no scrapes, nicks, dings, anything, and you never put Velcro on it. Like it looks like it just came out of the store. To me, that's mint. Yes, I have sold pedals for mint because that's what they are. But if they have Velcro on them, if you've used them, even if they're like smudgy a little bit, like, you know, like they just don't look super duper new, that's excellent. Anything less than that is very good or worse. And just be conservative because, again, people get pissy. You know, now I've never had that problem because I only sell them in the condition that I swear that they're in. So I've never had anybody, I don't think, say, oh, this isn't excellent or this isn't mint. So go by that rule. Saves yourself a lot of heartache because there are nut jobs out there. I sold a pedal and I became very, very good friends with Chris at Capitalist Death Cult Pedals because I sold a pedal to a guy. It worked fine. He sent me, and it was brand new. I only used it like twice. He sent me a message saying how awesome it was because it was a one-off that Chris had made. And I didn't know Chris at Capitalist Death Cult at the time. He started bombarding Chris with messages telling him how awesome it was. And then a month later, the guy broke it and literally went on a freaked out, totally unhinged tirade against me and Chris. Chris, he bombarded him in his messages and Instagram, so Chris had to finally block him, and I had to finally report the guy to Reverb because it was just, I am not kidding you, it was a message every 15 minutes for 4 days. Round the clock. I don't think the guy slept. Of course, I was kind of worried about the guy because obviously he had some issues. Point is, you never know. You just gotta, be cool and cross your fingers. So, good light, take good pictures, crop your pictures, list them accurately. Boxes, keep your boxes for your pedals. Like I keep the boxes for everything I buy. In fact, sometimes I won't buy a used pedal if it doesn't have the box. Why? It's harder to sell. Resale is everything. With guitars, it's resale, right? For that matter, that's why I choose, like whenever I stopped buying guitars, thank God, but when I bought guitars, I tried to stick to the big brands or newer brands that are popular that I know I can sell because it's all about resale. We all get sick of instruments and pedals and gear after a while, but guitars are a bloody nightmare to sell, especially on the web. Like in person, it's a little easier. I started just like putting them in shops where I live and waiting 6 months. But I mean, you could wait a year online unless it's something that people really, really want and can't get someplace else. You might get lucky, but buy the brands. When you're buying guitars, buy brands like Martin guitars. You're always going to be able to sell a Martin guitar, even on the web, or Gibson or whatever. Right? Another tip for you, and we'll get back to selling in a second, but another tip for you about buying, when you're looking at something, when you're looking for something, and you're searching Reverb, before you buy, double check, and I'm sure you guys do this already, I'm sure everybody does this, but just in case, check how long it's been up. What I mean is, again, resale. Stuff that's been up for a long, long time, even if it's something you're looking for, and I get it, you want something, you want it. I'm that way too. But I've gotten better at going, wait a second, this guy's had this up for 6 months and it hasn't sold yet? Yeah, that's how long or longer it's going to take you to get rid of it when you don't want it. So please consider that when you're buying. I mean, if you really want it, go for it, but if it's hard to sell, it'll just be a headache, okay? So anyway, back to selling. Now, boxes, remember I told you about keeping your boxes for your pedal? Boxes to ship in. They're a pain in the butt, right? Yeah, I know we all keep our Amazon boxes, we keep other boxes that come in, but you know, some pedals are bigger than other pedals, and that's why, like, you know, say Strymons are this big, so you got to keep like medium, what do they call the priority medium box size? But then you're automatically stuck at like $13 to $15 to ship it. So yeah, we keep our boxes. We try to coordinate like that. But here's a tip for you: the Postal Service will give you boxes for free. Yeah, whatever you want. You want medium priority boxes? Go on the web, go through boxes, click, I want 10 or 25, and they send them in a pallet, a little thing, they send them flattened like this. Now, this is a number 4 box. The reason I'm holding up this one is because the number 4 box is 6 inches by 6 inches by 7 inches. It generally ships for under $10. Generally, depends on the weight, of course. And I get them by 25. I go online, like I said, if you want medium size, you go to the medium, go get the medium. These are the number 4 box, 6 by 6 by 7. They fit almost any normal single or double footprint pedal, and the Postal Service, your post person, will bring these to your home for free if you order them online. Done. And they stay flat till you need them, so they don't take up your whole freaking mudroom, like my mudroom is full of boxes. Beautiful. I use them a lot. I don't use them for everything. Like I said, some things don't fit in there. But that's my recommendation, is go online and get some number 4 boxes and get some, medium priority boxes. You're going to need those for certain things. And then, you don't have to have a house full of bloody empty boxes like we do. I mean, it's gotten insane. But they've become very handy, and I've used them probably more than anything. So that's another tip for you. And don't just, when you list your pedals, when you list your gear, whatever it is, give it a little flair. Don't just say, smoke-free studio with box. Do a little copywriting. Do awesome unit. I used it for the last couple of years. I'm the original owner. It has no real nicks and dings. Let's say it's a piece of rack gear. It's got a little, the ring wear around the slots where it went in, but that's just from the screws. Otherwise, it's just been in my rack in my studio for the last 2 years. It's really awesome. This is what I like about it. I'm moving on to getting a 4-space unit instead of a 2, so that's why I'm selling it. And it's got the manual and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? If it's a pedal, say, hey, it's the Chase Bliss Dark, what the hell is it called? The Dark World. I've had it for about a year. I'm the original owner. I've gotten to programs. Both sides work really great. I've gotten sounds from all the different options on it. The dip switches are fantastic, but I need a stereo pedal, so, grab this while you can. It's got the boxes. It's got the manuals. If it happens to be an original wood box, it's got the original wood box. Whatever it is, people like to see that, and it gives them more confidence in you as a seller, and it gives them a little more, dare I say, warmth when they're pulling that trigger, parting with their monies. Their monies. All right, so those are just a few tips, and nothing's ever going to go smoothly all the time. Like I said, there was that one guy, but I think that poor guy had some other issues, and I felt bad. But it was pretty rough for 4 days dealing with it. But for the most part, I think I've had 4 issues with people over the last 7 years on Reverb. That's not too bad when you see the amount of transactions I've had. They were all settled, other than this one guy who Reverb eventually blocked because they couldn't believe, he was going to burn my house down and all kinds of crazy stuff. Other than that, the other 3 or 4 people, it was all resolved. Because here's another tip, and this will be my last tip about selling. Do the Reverb safe shipping program on every box. What? Yes. I know it's going to cost a few bucks more. It might cost $5 more. Who cares? And this is why. Because the Postal Service plays football with your packages. I don't even want to know what goes on behind the thing after I hand them my package. But I know for a fact that quite a few of my packages have been dinged, banged up. One got lost entirely. One thing got stolen, but that was something that was sent to me. So I got reimbursed because guess what? The other person did the safe shipping program. I mean, whatever happens, if the pedal gets rattled during shipping and it suddenly doesn't work, or something comes loose, or who knows what happens, it's covered. It's covered. And people who complain about the Reverb safe shipping program, I call BS. You want to know why? Because I think So I think I've had about 10 instances where I had to call on them, where I paid for safe shipping and whatever happened. And I know those pedals were working, right? Whatever the gear was. Within 3 to 4 days, and I told the other person on the other line, I'm like, don't worry, I paid for it, it'll be fine. Oh, it's gonna take 2 months, it's gonna take 2 weeks, it's gonna take 2 years. No. I've never had a claim take longer than 3 to 4 days. As long as you're succinct and polite and accurate and direct with them, with Reverb support, and give them all the help and all the information they need, and hopefully, ideally, the other person cooperates, 3 to 4 days max. I've had stuff resolved in 2 days. So, point being, I know it's coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of your profits, but isn't peace of mind worth it? I mean, really? Even if they're overcharging for it, which they are, they didn't used to charge as much as they're charging now, I don't care. It's the peace of mind. Reverb Safe Shipping Program, signature only. Trust me. And if the other person says, oh, I don't want the signature only, I don't. Okay. It's on you, though. And make sure you get that in writing, in messages between you. Because you want to know another tip? Reverb, just like eBay, I don't know if everybody realizes this, they can read your messages. Yes. So if you have a back and forth with somebody and it seems to be getting out of hand or the other person isn't being reasonable, Reverb support can read those messages and they will act accordingly. So, if the other person says, I don't want you to use those safe shipping, I don't want signature only, fine. It's on you though, something happens, I'm not responsible, okay, good, done. Tell Reverb support if anything goes wrong and they'll look at the messages and you'll be cool. All right, so one last note though, this isn't about selling, this is about buying. Reverb isn't the only place on the web to buy. I know, you all know this. You should probably look all over. You all are really smart, sharp cookies. I get it. But like for instance, yesterday, I was looking at an old Boss digital delay and probably 86, 87 or something. And I'm looking on Reverb and there's a couple of them. I mean, there was one for like 129. That one went right away, you know, the blue label Japanese thing. And I was like, yeah, but that one was pretty beat up even though the guy said it worked. I mean, there's got to be a better one out there. And, you know, 129 wasn't bad. Then the next two were over 200. One was at 300. So I'm like, yeah, that's silly. So I got it out of my head. And then today I did a general search, which is the best way to do it because I know when I use Google Chrome, it comes up, you know, eBay shows this. It'll even show individual stores. Like if there's a store in St. Louis that has it and doesn't charge tax or shipping, you know, that happens too. So I do a general search and look at everything, and there was a couple on eBay, and I was like, oh, $115, that's reasonable, and that one was in good shape, and that was from Japan with free shipping. The guy had great feedback, like almost 600 feedback. And then there was one for 133, also from Japan, but there was one for 110 from Michigan that seemed to be, and they were all blue label, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, point is, sometimes sometimes people think they've got gold. You know what I mean? Sometimes people think they found Confederate gold and they're selling it to you and they're doing you a favor. That's the way it seems on Reverb sometimes. That's why I'm always reasonable at my prices. I always try to be the lowest price, but here's one last tip about that. I just remembered something. So when you're selling, okay, I always try to be the lowest price, and I always offer free shipping. That's my thing, right? That's my credo, and that's been helpful. Now I will check Reverb when I'm taking breaks throughout the day 3 or 4 times. If someone is going lower than me, yes, I will go lower and I will meet them to a point. And I say to a point because there have been several times where I've gone, yeah, I want to sell this, and this guy's, you know, we're having a war. Sometimes it doesn't happen that often, but several times I've had a war where, you know, every time I lower it, they go below me. Okay, here's a tip for you. Don't be desperate. Don't get into wars like that, because if you sell it super low to get rid of it, the next sale that happens is going to be that guy for what you wanted to get for it. right? Like, I know we all want to sell it. We want to get rid of it. We're desperate. We want it. Don't be desperate. Don't be desperate. Don't put yourself in that position in the first place. Sell it for what you want to sell it for. Go down a little bit if you have to. And then, of course, people make offers, and then you just got to decide whether it's reasonable or not. I find 80% of the offers are completely unreasonable and they're off their heads. You know, like, I don't know, they think you're desperate and you'll just get rid of it and give it to them for 40% less than you're already discounting it. But I digress. Don't be desperate. Let the other dude, let the other gal sell it. Go down as far as you think is reasonable. But when it goes below that point, stop. Stop. And when that other person sells it for way cheaper than they should have sold it, go right back up to your reasonable price. So if reasonable is 205 and that person decides to bring it down to 175, let them sell it at 175, because come on. I mean, when it gets lower than you think the lowest reasonable offer could be, stop. Let them have that sale. You'll get the next one for $30 more. All right? All right, enough. I just wanted to help you out. I don't know if this is helpful, but this is what I've learned over the years, and I wanted to pass it on. So I hope that's useful. If you have any other questions, let me know, and good hunting.